This should be interesting. Welcome everybody to our City Council special meeting. Today is May 19th, 2022. The time is 6:02, so we're calling our meeting to order. Monica, could we please get roll call?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Councilmember Moran?
Present.
Councilmember King?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Present.
Mayor Aguilar?
Present.
For the record, council members, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem are in attendance.
Thank you. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members. Thank you. Council, any changes to the agenda? No changes. We're going to go ahead and move on to citizen comments. At a special meeting, members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter on the agenda may do so at this time. No, under the provision of California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. Any citizen comments at this time? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for me, I just want to make a quick comment. I know that city is actively recruiting for a chief of police, and right now, not everything is done. I'm not sure how many people you have that applied, but I also understand that the SO contract for administration is coming to the end. You guys know how I feel about Sheriff's Office being in administration, because I believe that we should have our own chief of police. However, I don't believe that we should do anything in a rush. If we haven't gone through as a city all the candidates, I highly encourage the folks to extend it to the point where we have gone through all the applicants as a city, and you guys have vetted him and gone through that, him and her, and then apply for it and then end the contract with the SO. But let's not do anything in haste. Public safety is very, very important, and that's one of the most important services the city provides outside of water, sewer, and everything else. So please be patient. I know that eventually you guys will find a chief and recruit that person. But in the meantime, just think for the long run. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment, citizen comments at this time?
Yes.
Go ahead and identify yourself.
Hi. I don't see any reason that you should renew the contract whenever you have perfectly capable candidates and within the police force already. And I really feel like you guys should go through your candidates inside the police force before you hire out the outside again. And what is this $40 increase right here? What is this about?
Thank you. We'll note that question and maybe we can answer it during our presentation. Any other citizen comment? Anybody else on the phone? Okay, thank you. We're gonna bring...
Yeah. Hi. I think a couple things. I think we need to really focus on hiring a economic developer so that we're not in this situation again. So that we could be in a better position to hire qualified candidates, even from within the police department. But yeah, I think it's important to take a look at who we have in the city already. I think the Sheriff's Department does a great job, but I think that Livingston needs to hire people that potentially have been overlooked within the department. And I know there's been a lack of promotions, over the years, but I think the lack of promotions has to do with the spinning plates of so many different police chiefs coming in, not being able to focus and acknowledge some of the people that are ready to move up. So please consider, looking at who we have there that's familiar with the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments on the phone? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to our one item, which is a discussion and potential action item.
Mayor, this is Mayor Pro Tem Raul Garcia.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm going to be recusing myself due to me working at the Merced County Sheriff's Office, and just for abundance of caution, so I'll be recusing myself tonight.
Thank you, sir.
I will
Noted.
be available if needed.
Thank you, sir. Noted. Monica, if you could note that comment from our Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. All right, we're going to go ahead. Item number 1, which is approve a contract extension with Merced County Sheriff's Office for interim police chief services. Resolution approving a contract extension between Merced County Sheriff's Office and the City of Livingston for interim chief of police services. Vanessa?
Yes, good evening, Council, Under Sheriff. Thank you for being here. Thank you, city staff and the public for being here tonight. Council, the objective in tonight's meeting are going to be 2 items. The first one is going to do the review of the contract options provided by the Sheriff's Office, and the second item is going to be providing direction to staff in regards to the Council's action. The desired outcome of this meeting, it is going to be for Council to consider staff's recommendation to extend the contract with Merced County Sheriff's Office through June 30, 2023. Just to provide you with a little bit of background on this item, back in November 2021, the city entered into an agreement with the Sheriff's Department for interim police chief services with an expiration of May 21, 2022. This was a 6-month contract, and it was in effect for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, it was to provide immediate leadership to the police department, and number 2, it was to allow the city to conduct a recruitment for police chief. As I have shared with you in the past, the recruitment efforts were carried through a professional executive recruitment firm, and unfortunately, we were unable to find a candidate. At this point, I would like to point out too that this recruitment is still open, and we are taking applications. However, we have not received any at the moment. Council, it is critical that the city have continuous leadership, especially in our police department. Besides the skills and the peace officer certifications that are required to be a police chief, there are many other special clearances that one needs to have to be a police chief. And I certainly don't have those clearances or those certifications, and I can share that no other employee in our agency has those certifications either. With this situation at hand, the Sheriff's Office has been very flexible and very accommodating to the city. We were able to extend the current contract through September 30th, 2022 with the same provisions, same scope, rate of pay, same services as agreed back in November, and this was done in accordance to our municipal code chapter 11, which dictates the purchase policies and procedures for the city. Now for our item for tonight. As you know, and as we have shared also with you, all of agencies are experiencing difficulties with recruiting. Many of my peers around Merced County have shared that many of those job openings the frontline positions to mid-management to even department heads are taking a long time to recruit, especially for this department head position. They're looking at about, they've shared with me that they're looking at about 8+ months. So it is across the board that we are all having this difficult time to find talent. And like I shared, we're no different. We are also competing for the same talent with every other agency around. Since we didn't have a candidate to fill the police chief position, and with the understanding that it is a very important position and it's key to have a chief, I approached the sheriff's office to help me explore some solutions, and the sheriff's office provided me with 2 contract options. Both of them are for 1-year terms, and both of them are the ones that I have outlined in our staff report. Option number 1, it's what I would like to consider the status quo option, which is to continue the contract with a lieutenant for another year until we find our next chief. And option number 2, what I like to call it creating a self-sustainability plan, is to have a captain to provide police chief services with intention of training and developing a city lieutenant. The city would be able to provide or include this funding for a lieutenant with our New Year's budget for 22-23. The second option is what I feel very advantageous to the city, since it provides promotional opportunities to our police department. We will have a tangible succession plan in place, and we will also provide a clear second-in-command leadership in the police department. To me, I see it as an extremely valuable opportunity, not just for the city, but also for my police department team. What this second option of creating self-sustainability, I can also see it like the sheriff. It could either be option 1, they're giving us a fish. Option 2, they're teaching us how to fish. Considering all those factors, I have made the recommendation to City Council to continue the contract with the Sheriff's Office through June 30, 2023, under the self-sustaining option. And we are available for any questions.
Thank you, Vanessa. I know we have the undersheriff here. You want to say a few words or anything like that? Or you just want to, if there's anybody who has any questions?
Evening. Corey Gibson, Undersheriff, Merced County. A little tall here. No, we want to be a good partner to the city of Livingston. We're all a community. We have been without a lieutenant at the sheriff's office for 6 months. And so in negotiations with the county's requiring us to have a 1-year contract so we can fill our open position that's currently being held by Chief Hale here at the city. So that's why there's a time figure on it. It's based on the county need versus the sheriff need. But we want to continue to be a good partner with the city of Livingston, help you find the next chief of police. And I think it'd be a good opportunity to, through the next year, get a feel for where law enforcement is throughout the region. There's a lot of changes with law enforcement. I think it'll give a good opportunity to the city to vet out a new chief and be able to take on those challenges. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Chief, you want to say any words or anything? You're good? Any questions? Okay. So do we have, council, any questions for the undersheriff at this time? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. So obviously, for myself, I'll just say a few words. You know, I truly believe in public safety and the importance of public safety in our community. Obviously, it's, you know, one of the top priorities as a council, as a mayor, to have a well-functioning operation when it comes to the safety of our citizens. You know, it's important to keep everybody safe, you know, not only the day-to-day activities, but also provide that reassurance and provide that confidence in our departments that provide public safety. It's essential, it's important, it's basic to city function. You know, I've talked to a lot of people, I've heard a lot of comments from the community. You know, everybody, one of the things, I'm completely honest, you know, one of the things I hear the most is that the community wants their own chief. They want their own PD chief. You know, they want us to either, like the gentleman on the phone said, you know, promote within, give somebody an opportunity, or you know, or go hard on recruiting somebody. They do want to see that. So I understand, you know, I understand representing the community. That's definitely something that's expressed on a regular basis to me. So I understand that importance. I do understand that that having you guys here, it's a benefit to the city. You know, you guys provide you know, those additional resources. Chuck, you've been great. You've been doing excellent work. It's been good working with you the past 6 months. So it's, you know, it's a difficult, you know, for me personally, it's a difficult, you know, it shouldn't be a difficult situation, right? It shouldn't, but it is, because it's complicated. People want their own police chief. I know that there's, you know, a process to getting there. You know, it takes time. You know, either building within somebody and getting somebody ready, or recruiting that person that's gonna really benefit the community, that's gonna fit into the community. It does take time. It's a process. So you know, it's a complicated situation. I understand the importance of keeping the department stabilized. I understand the importance of keeping the department functioning. I understand the need of the community, or the want of the community. So it's a lot of factors to consider. So council, you guys have any additional questions specific? That's just something I just wanted to, you know, express out there, but questions specific to the contract. Council, do you guys have any specific questions? Need better explanation, clarifications?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Vanessa, you had clear that the previous contract and this new contract identical, same,
They're different.
price-wise?
I'm sorry?
For the price-wise, are the same or different?
They're different. There's a different price on the renegotiated
What's
contract.
the difference on the price? What is the current hourly rate right now?
The current hourly rate right now, it's $125.92 compared to $146.33.
What's the difference?
And that's $20.41.
Can you explain why that's the difference?
The difference is because we are going to what we're calling the self-sustainable plan, where we are going to contract for a captain position that will provide training to our department by creating or funding a lieutenant position through our budget. So under the previous contract, or the original contract, we were contracting a lieutenant. We will be contracting a captain to provide police chief services.
Council, any other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, for better understanding and to also make sure that the people watching and the people that we represent, so that they can also better understand. So we do have two options here in front of us. One of them is to just extend the lieutenant contract that we have. Both of them are for a year. So option number one is for a lieutenant to continue providing services to our city. The second one is for a captain to be in a position to where they can train while they're providing services to the city, at the same time train someone or some of our current officers looking towards a possible future chief from within. Is that correct?
Yes, and with the recommendation, what we're saying is that we will be funding a lieutenant position through our budget. So it will be an additional position in the police department, so that way we can fill that position and provide that training that it's needed for that higher position. We would be promoting some way of promotional opportunities for our department, which are non-existent right now because we don't have anything that it's beyond a sergeant.
Okay. And so, thinking of that option, we'll be training someone from within, one person who will become a lieutenant.
A lieutenant will be
Okay. All right. So,
hired.
and does it mean when it comes time to go through the process and have our own, quote unquote, our own chief or the new chief whenever the time comes, is that process going to be only available to that one person that we are training, or is that going to be open to additional applicants that might become available at that time?
The process should always be an open recruitment.
Okay.
The only thing is that now the city will have a lieutenant that could potentially be competitive with this process. Right now, we don't have anybody from within the agency that could be competitive in the process of a police chief.
Okay. So then that option 2, that price difference of $21 per hour, is to have a captain that will have additional responsibilities other than just being the chief in charge, but to rather train, provide that input to that potential lieutenant and potentially have that ability to apply and eventually, hopefully, become the new chief. Is that right?
The lieutenant will be the lieutenant. With the captain position, it will provide that hierarchy to provide that training or to have oversight over a lieutenant. If
Okay.
I were to fund a lieutenant position and I contract with the county for another lieutenant to serve as a police chief, we will have two equal positions within the city. So what we are trying to do is have that hierarchy and provide that training.
Okay. And also, I do want to mention that within the last 6 months, I've seen a lot of positive outcome from having someone in that position. In this case, having those services being provided by the sheriff's office. And from my point of view, I was just expecting someone to just keep the boat afloat, because we need someone, we needed the safety, we needed that keeping our PD office together, and I've had residents reach out to me, and then I forward the information to the chief, and in every one of those instances, he has been able to reach out the following day, if not the same day, and taking care of, or at least supporting those residents with their concerns. And that is in addition to everything else that he has been able to do within the police department. So before we go any further, I just like to express my gratitude to the job done within the last 6 months. I wasn't expecting much, not thinking that he was not gonna, whoever it was, not being capable of doing it, but just keeping the boat afloat. That was what I was thinking. I'm just being honest. But I do appreciate the work that has been done. The residents have expressed that to me, and I've seen that myself. So I really appreciate the work that has been done within the last 6 months. And that's it for now.
Any other questions, council, regarding the contract? Could we get a further explanation? So obviously, we know that both options are for a year. Could you explain that, just like why is the reasoning behind it a little bit more? How come we can't do, or can we do 3 months, 6 months, or whatever the case may be?
Sure. You know, Under Sheriff explained that this is going to be or what it's looking as a long-term commitment between city and county to work in this partnership. At the same time, it takes time. It takes time for the city to conduct a recruitment for a lieutenant. We will be presenting the budget sometime in June, and our budget runs from July through the following year, June 2023. Once the council approves that lieutenant position, we have to go recruit for that. It could take 2 months, it could take 3 months, we don't know that. So we need to establish those cushions and those best case and hope for the best, but plan for the worst scenarios in a way. And once we get that person hired, we need to start the training. And the training that they go through, it's technical training. It's training that they have to attend. They have to get certain. They have a curriculum for the peace officer certifications that need to be completed. So it all takes time. And us going for a 6 month would be really cutting ourselves short and really just creating more administrative work between the two agencies to get to the final outcome, which is have a trained lieutenant that could potentially be competitive when we go out for doing the recruitment. And at the same time, the job description for the police chief, it does specify that the lieutenant position, or that the applicant should have at least 1 year experience as a lieutenant. So because of all those reasons, it is going to take time, and that's why we are taking the approach of providing the council with the option to take in this contract till June 30th. And that is really a tight deadline that we're also setting for ourselves, because as we are running through this timelines, it could very well be 18 months in order to get all of this completed and accomplished. Does that provide that?
How come we can't, so, sort of, but I'm just trying to make sure we ask all the questions. How come we can't do 6 months? Like, the justification behind it, that has to do with the county and their budgeting, right?
Well,
I mean, I know the reason why you want a year and building somebody, but I know there's also some
yes,
county
that's my
stuff.
city
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
The county will have a reason.
Yeah, so obviously, there's the county and the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is willing to work with the city police department and the city council. However, we still have to work through the budgeting process through the county. The county's made it clear that they want a 1 year commitment to fill our position. So that's where we're at. That's why the terms were set out to county council and through purchasing. Essentially, you're getting a service through the county. This is the requirements through those departments and through the county council's office and the CEO's office. We may be able to do, once we have the position in place and it's filled, we could potentially extend 6 months, at a time or at a different time figure, but initially the county's saying it has to be at least 1 year.
Thank you. That's kind of what I was looking for. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. But there are 2 reasons why the need is there. One, through the county and the the way that the purchasing or the purchasing department and the legal counsel work and draft these contracts, but the other reason for the city purposes, it's because we need that time in order to provide us with sufficient time to do the recruitment, to get somebody in, to do the training. There's technical training that needs to be done through the the peace officer board and certifications and classes. So it's lengthy. So from a city perspective, that's also a reason.
Another question or scenario, sorry, I have to ask. What if we get somebody, a well-qualified applicant next month, or in 2 months, or 6 months?
Absolutely. So if we do, I mean, like, the position, it's open. If we get the applicant that it's qualified, it's ready, it's willing, we do have a 90-day contract termination clause. And in any way, I mean, like I said, even from the day that you start doing talks with someone that are interested in that, they're going to be a good fit for the community, you still need to provide somewhat of a transition and some sort of like exchanging of notes of what is going on. So I also feel that this transition period, it will be well fitted for the county and for the city to provide that exchange of notes from the leadership.
Would that be an issue with the county, though? Like, if, say, we find somebody in 3 months, knowing how budgeting works, would the county have a problem with us trying to exit the contract sooner?
Yeah, the terms of the contract are the terms of the contract. So if you decide to exit, by all means, 90 days. And I think the biggest thing is recruitment of a chief is going to take a little bit of time. And then looking at the transitional period, I don't want to happen what happened when we came in, where there's no communication between the two leaders. And I think it'd be a great opportunity for there to be an overlap period to get that next police chief in place and for him to understand the challenges that are going on currently with the city and addressing those for the council.
So the first paragraph on here, it mentions something through September 30, 2022. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So through the, I'm sorry.
Staff report.
Through the municipal code, the purchasing policies, there is a provision in which the city manager, finance director, designee can make and execute contracts on behalf of the city involving budgeted and appropriated expenditures. When this contract was approved back in November 2021, the council had approved an appropriation of up to $250,000. We have not reached that appropriation at the moment. I believe we are about, I wrote it here, $104,000. So we were able to accommodate an extension through September.
Go ahead, Tom.
Can I hear from legal, please?
Yeah, we advised that wasn't appropriate.
It's per our municipal code.
No, my partner gave you an opinion that that's a different contract for a different year, and that was not to be done.
Well, this is just, so I also shared that this is the way that the city has interpreted this Chapter 11 of the municipal code for many, many years. This is not the first contract that the terms are extended using this delegation of purchasing authority. This has been done for, and I haven't been here in other contracts, but I was able to pull up some contracts. It's been done for our AB 1600, economic development contracts, code enforcement and abatement items, and most recently for the general plan, which was an opinion that it was given to us by White Brenner as well.
Well, those are apples and oranges, and again, I don't want to get in a big debate, but if the council doesn't extend the contract tonight, we've given the legal opinion that that's an inappropriate way to extend the contract.
Any other questions specific to the contract or comments, questions for anybody here, council?
Something that I do want to add in consideration of item or option 2 in this proposal is that going with option 2 with the captain and the training of a lieutenant, in a way, we as a city, we are investing in doing that additional investment in one of our own. So I think it's also a way to show that we believe in the quality of the and the ability of the officers that we currently have, and which I do believe is great to be able to have that give someone that opportunity and creating that investment in one of our own. If there are no other discussions, I would like to motion in
I have additional questions.
Okay.
I don't think we're there yet. In regards to the cost, that's another question I get often in regards to the projected amount. We're saying that it's not to exceed $275,000, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
How much approximately is a full-time chief, Livingston police chief? What are the wages for a permanent chief?
Yeah, we have provided that in the past, and we're looking at about, well, as of last fiscal year, without any kind of cost of living adjustments or anything like that, we were looking at a fully loaded cost of $135,000.
$135,000?
I'm sorry, $235,000. That is including wages, benefits, retirement, insurance, and so forth. It's $235,000.
Gotcha, okay. And so, obviously, we're not paying, it's $275 with no benefit, we're not paying towards retirement, insurance, none like that, correct?
This contract or the rate for the services, it's including a fully loaded rate. So that means that it includes benefits and pension. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take back my contract or the cost, the annual cost. It's, as of last year, it was $236,000. So it could be potentially a lot more now with insurance and benefits. Everything has gone up.
I know another question regarding the mileage. It's $1.10 per mile, but I saw a different rate earlier this week. Is there a reason why there's a difference?
The original rate was $96, and now it's up $1.10, adjusted for higher cost of fuel.
No, I'm talking about the meeting we had on Tuesday. for the high school officer, that one was 92 cents. I think Tuesday's gas and today's gas prices pretty
They're,
same.
they're two different contracts. One of them it's with Merced County Sheriff's Office, the other one it's with Merced Union.
Yeah, we're talking about gas prices, that should be fairly equal
They're
to.
two different agencies.
So there's, just to understand it better, so each agency provides a different mileage rate they go by? Is that correct?
Yes, they're different agencies.
I have one more question. Let's say if we do go for the second route where we get a captain and what happens for the next 4 months, we don't find a lieutenant, are we still gonna continue paying the higher rate? Even though he's not training nobody?
We're committing to a captain and we're committing to moving forward with looking and doing all of our efforts to hire a lieutenant position. At the end of the day, we are also contracting for chief of police services, and those services will be provided by the captain, the lieutenant, whether or not he's training somebody else. He's still providing leadership for the department, and he's still providing training to everybody else in the department. But the only difference is that there's no training to that lieutenant position.
So if we don't find nobody for the next 7, 8 months, that could potentially be extra $40,000. So we were better off going on the second contract where we keep a lieutenant, so we don't have to pay for that extra, what do you say, $21 an hour difference?
There is still, if we do status quo, there is still an adjustment for, in the rate for this contract.
Which page was that on?
I don't have that listed in the page, but I can provide that information to you.
Yeah, can you give me-
The new rate, it would be $130.89 with a 10% for out of class. So that brings it somewhere around $143.
So no matter what option we get, we're still paying close to 140 something.
Within the two options, and therefore I feel that the option of contracting for a captain position, it's something that it will give the city a sustainable path to having leadership in the future.
There's a difference though, right? Just to make sure, from option 1 and 2, there's a cost difference?
There will be a cost difference, that's correct, and I can share that. I can provide those tables.
So just real quick, so based on your, I know it's a legal thing in regards to the first paragraph, which probably needed further discussion. But if it were not to pass, potentially, based on what you just read, it could still be extended, this still be in effect, the current contract till September. But I know legal is saying it's a different situation.
Hello again. So obviously, we want to be a good partner. If we're not wanted here, then we won't be here. We just want to help with the transition with the city and the next leader for the police department. You guys have some difficult decisions. I think this is pretty straightforward and an opportunity for the city to keep a well-qualified candidate as your guys' chief of the police. One of the things you talked about is there's a 10% out of class. Just so you guys are all aware, I have currently 5 lieutenants. We had an administrative meeting. The sheriff asked all 5 lieutenants if anyone had any interest in coming here, and I had crickets. I recruited Chief Hale to take this position. He came from a small municipality when he started his law enforcement career, and I knew he'd be a great fit because he knew what the needs of the community likely were going to be. And I think he's done an outstanding job. However, some of the challenges of being a police chief are much greater than that of a standard sheriff's lieutenant. We joke constantly about how much easier he had it prior to coming to the city of Livingston, because there is a lot more pressures here at the city than versus running a facility or a couple bureaus within the sheriff's office. So that's what the changes are with the cost. We're looking out for our own staff and being able to fill those needs.
Could I ask you one more question? And I've asked you this before, I think probably multiple times. So you've heard it before. And it's not to annoy you, but it really is, like I've told you before, it's a concern of the community. One of the things that is often brought up is that you guys want to take over the city of Livingston.
Yes.
So I know we've had this discussion off the record, but maybe you want to provide some kind of statement or what you've told me before off the record.
It's not my policy or procedure. It's Sheriff Warnke's position that he has really no desire to take over any local police departments. That's not his desire. I do believe law enforcement is moving more to a regional approach. You see that north of here in Stanislaus County, where the sheriff provides police services for 4 cities. However, as he says it, I don't get a pay raise to take on the city responsibilities. It's not really in our wheelhouse to continue to provide those services unless that's what the need of the community is. If that was the desire of the city of Livingston, then we would consider it. I know that's not your desire, so that's why we haven't discussed those things.
Thank you. Council, do we have any other questions at this time? Or other clarifications, thoughts?
Just thinking out loud, listening and to the explanation in the process, I believe, if not all of this council, some of us on the council have been asking for quote unquote our own chief, whatever that means. If that means giving someone an opportunity from within, then this is that opportunity that you guys are asking for. In addition, researching and also getting in touch with other agencies myself individually, I got to learn a little bit more of the process on what are some of the requirements of a chief. Never before did I ever even look into what not only the responsibilities and the requirements, what does it take to become a chief, as far as training, experience. And yes, in the past, it's like, well, I didn't see myself having the need to look too much into that, but this has given me also that opportunity, and I have learned a lot more about the process and the requirements and the ideal candidate to fill those positions. And just like we heard a little bit earlier from some of the public comments, that they wish to have or give someone within the department that opportunity to grow, to be trained, to be in line to potentially be a good candidate for the chief position. And also the other thing was it's the time frame. Once again, I don't want to be in the situation again where we have to, try and hurry up and trying to find someone qualified enough in 3 months, in 4 months, because now we don't have someone that now because our contract expired, now we got to hurry up and just grab someone. My understanding is that in this contract, it says that if it is a year contract, if we need to be there a year, then it's a year. But if we find someone within 3 months, which, it has a 3 months clause, and then it'll be 6 months. And then in 6 months, we'll have our own, quote unquote, our own chief. So my understanding is that not necessarily it's a full year contract that will be forced upon us. as if we need it. So I do appreciate those safety guidelines there, because it's struggle. It is not healthy for our city to be doing this every 3 months or 6 months. It's just, there's no consistency, there's no continuity, and it just, we need to give the residents, we need to give ourselves, and we need to give the city a peace of mind that whenever we do something, we do take our time and we analyze, and we're not just rushing to something, overnight. So I don't, I don't take my decisions lightly. I try to do my best, and I do believe that what I have in front of me at this time is the best for not only my community, which I believe is our community. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
And just a quick question regarding, I think this was already covered, but regarding the second option, obviously the goal is to build within. But in the case we do get, so it'll be the same thing, right? In the case we do get a good applicant at that time, then that'd be also considered, right? It's not like we're committing to just hiring within, it's giving the opportunity to anybody who applies.
The recruitment is going to be an open recruitment, so anybody who is qualified will be evaluated and brought forward. The only thing is that once we have a lieutenant position, then it becomes a city position to grow and train and develop from within.
Okay, I got a question for, right now, earlier you said that the application has to have 1 year of lieutenant experience. So let's say next month or 2 months, we renew the contract, and we promote somebody within a 12-month period, they're not gonna have the 1 year either.
And that's why,
Then that means we're gonna go back to finding somebody else that has 1 year?
and that's the reason why we're saying that this is a long-term approach, or like we're thinking, we're setting ourselves into the path of succession, but I also said that it could be 12 months or it could be 18 months to ensure that that person is fully qualified and checks all the boxes for the job description.
Regarding the 90 days, is that a recommendation from the county as well, from you guys?
Yes, it is. It is because what I have also been explained is that being a 12-month contract, there is some, there's got to be those safety clauses, not just for the city, for us to get a way out, but also for the county to do proper planning for this position to now report back and get everything up to speed to have their staff person back into their facilities.
Sorry. I was just thinking about something that, following up or to his question. So thinking about that, we're looking to have a lieutenant in a position that's going to be trained by the captain. And if in 6 months we end up having a well-qualified person that eventually will become the chief, another positive thing that I see is that in addition to that, it will be a benefit having that lieutenant trained by that captain for those 6 months or 8 months or whatever it is, which, if I'm correct, that lieutenant will be the second in command whenever the chief is out of town or otherwise, which would have that management experience to deal with situations in the chief's absence, right?
Yes, that is totally correct. In the event that we find a well-qualified candidate that comes in as a chief, the advantage of having this is that we're still going to have a lieutenant that will be receiving continuous training by the new chief. And also it just outlines, or it just makes it clear that, that new chief may decide to move to, I don't know, East Coast, Hawaii or something. We will have a clear succession planning in place for that, for our department to have continuous leadership.
And so even if that lieutenant is not here for a full year to be able to make that replacement as a chief, it will still be someone that we have qualified to be that interim until we get somebody else to fill in the position, right?
Potentially, once they're done with all of their training and
Yes.
and everything. Yes.
Vanessa,
Yes.
when our interim isn't serving Livingston, who is our second in command?
Well, at this moment, we do not have a second in command. Clearly, we have sergeants that provide supervision or supervisory they do the supervisory items, but we wouldn't have the skill set or the leadership or the clearances that a chief will be needed.
You're basing that off of the checking the box qualifications?
Not just checking the box qualifications. I see Under Sheriff getting up, but I think that someone from public safety would be better at
Yes,
explaining that.
So in the absence of the chief, if he's going to be gone for a long period of time, he will appoint one of the sergeants to be the point of contact, and then the sheriff's office, based on our contract, we assign an on-call lieutenant to cover that for the city. So if the chief's going to be gone for 3-4 days, we automatically assign someone to that who's ever been designated from the city who would be the point of contact from the sheriff's office for that type of leadership. Yeah, another lieutenant or a captain. It could potentially be a captain based on the on-call schedule. And that would be in the event, if you extend the contract, we would continue that process where we would have an on-call available until the lieutenant was ready to take on those responsibilities.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody? Any other comments, clarifications, anything else? Just,
Yeah.
so,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. You have a question?
No, actually, I was ready to make a
Oh,
motion.
okay. So just to summarize for me, once again, public safety is very important to me. I think to all of us. This decision goes, beyond us in regards to ensuring that we have a good department in place and options for the future to get our permanent police chief in place. I expressed, I wanted to make sure I'm thorough and I'm able to ask those questions, because I think it is important that the committee, hears justification for what we're doing and what we're deciding. So I appreciate the responses to the questions we've had. I understand the concerns or people being hesitant to approve the contract, because we do get pressure from the public. I mean, it happens in regards to wanting our our own department, our own chief, you know what I mean? So I think it's reasonable that we ask these questions, or we're being thorough because of that, that public interest or that public questioning we get often. So I think it was important for me to ask those questions and get clarifications and be thorough with our decision making. Once again, I said, I think it's been a good partnership. I think it's been working great. Anytime I've asked Chief Chuck to help me out with anything, or when I'm advocating for anything, he's been receptive and able to have a thorough conversation and discussion about whatever we're trying to accomplish. So, I really truly appreciate that working relationship. He's been a true asset to the department. From the public safety event we did, he didn't hesitate and made it happen. To many other community events and efforts, trying to help out with the speeding situation, being innovative with the camera system and bringing that forth. It has brought stability to our department, and we could see it in the community. And I do hear it from the community, in having that additional support from the Sheriff's Department, it also, makes our department more versatile, having more resources in place. And it's also a deterrent, having you guys as our partners also helps out with situations out in the community. So, if anybody has any other questions, I think Jose's ready to make a motion. Any other clarifications? Make sure.
Mayor, if I may, you are seeing it from the community engagement side. I just wanted to share that wearing my finance hat, we have done a lot of improvements and we have been able to do a lot of negotiating and procuring of new funding. I note in our staff report, it's about $180,000 of new funding that we're bringing over for the next fiscal year. So just wanted to share that.
So as a last comment before I make a motion, I do appreciate all of the input that has been provided to me by the residents, by community members, and I do appreciate the questions being answered by the SO, by the Sheriff's Office, to better understand where some of the language comes from in the contract and to make it a little bit more better understanding. One thing that I always being in the business world for so many years in my past life, I always one of the main things that I would always look into is three things: planning, short term, midterm, and long term. And not always when we do short-term thinking and short-term planning, it's not always the best. But rather when we plan for short-term, mid-term, and long-term, and we plan well and we prepare, then anything that might happen, we can better deal with it. And considering and taking into consideration all of the input from the residents and also thinking about the overall safety of the community, I think it's very important, and I don't make my decisions. It takes me time. It takes me time and to make sure that whatever I decide, it's what I think is the best and will be the best for the entire community. And so, with that said, I will make a motion to approve the recommendation of having option 2 a captain that will be training a lieutenant, and with contract for up to a year with a 3-month option to end the contract when needed, if needed. That's my motion.
Before anything, just real quick, I know that we talked about instead of 90 days being 60 days, is still that a possibility? Oh, okay. So we have a motion on the table, and I'll go ahead and second it.
Roll call, Councilmember Soto?
No.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
No.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion fell.
This is the Mayor Pro Tem.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so before this goes any further, for the FPPC section or page 16, when there's a tie, I'm legally required to take place in this item under section 8700 to break the tie, regulation 18705, parent C01.
You heard him? So he said that on a tie, he's able to vote. Raul, could you please?
Yes.
Sorry, we couldn't hear you that clearly.
Under section 87101, and then it permits an official who is otherwise disqualified under this section to break a tie under regulation 18705C1. I'm legally required to participate if there's a tie.
We'll have to continue this to look at that. It's the FPPC regs that he's referring to, not it's something different.
With that, I can't hear. I can't hear you guys.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm saying it sounds like you're quoting FPPC regulations that we're going to have to come back and give an opinion on. So we have to continue
Or
the meeting.
it clearly states on page 16
well,
of the FPPC.
I need to look at it
look
myself.
that up on your phone.
We can't.
So are you saying I cannot vote? Or are you telling me that I cannot vote?
No, I'm not, sir. I'm saying I need to look at that and see it in.
So do we need to take a break?
No, we need to probably continue the meeting.
So that is a legal recommendation, or is that a personal opinion?
Well, I would say that, first of all, I don't have any policy. I'm saying if you want an
I
opinion,
just want to be clear.
if you want an opinion on that, we need to continue the meeting because I'm not going to do that without looking at those regulations and their context.
Garcia, are you asking for an opinion,
Yes.
or are you asking for, or you're saying that you're voting?
He's saying he needs to vote if there's a
as
tie.
I'm reading, as I'm reading this, it says I'm legally required to participate if there's a tie, and it's in their guide. So I don't know if he wants to look it up. We could take a 10-minute break. It doesn't.
No, we're going to need
take that
more
long to
than
read over it.
we're going to need more than 10 minutes for that.
So are you saying I cannot vote at this time?
No, Pro Tem, I'm saying that I can't give an opinion, my opinion on whether you can vote or not as we sit here.
Okay, well, so I'm going to vote then.
Okay, let me just say, like I told you last time, if you do that, it may create both individual and problems for the city with the contract.
Okay, like I said, I'm reading it off the FPPC, so.
For the city, can we get a writing from the FPPC?
But it's
I know it's his opinion, but just to be on.
But it's up, that's his prerogative, I guess.
Yeah, my recommendation And again, I'm not the sixth council member. That's one thing my dad taught me 30 years ago, never to do that. What I'm saying, my recommendation is that we continue this meeting to another day to look at that issue, because it's important, and I need to see what he's quoting as well as the context around it.
If I may.
Go ahead.
So in preparation, and I'm not a lawyer, but in preparation for this item, I would expect to be prepared for any one of 3 or 4 different situations. If it went this way, then legally I would know how to, what would happen or how to proceed. If it went this way, potentially certain questions might come up, and then be ready for it. It's difficult to expect to have an item and expect that item to go only one way. Like now, this is where we're at. It is also my understanding, and I think we talked about that before, that if this was the case, in a different situation, one of us had to pull, and I think I can quote, was pull the short stick. This is one of those
That's the rule of necessity. That's when 3 people have a conflict. That's not your situation.
Okay.
So I'm trying to protect the pro tem and the city by having us take our time. This is not you should know off the top of your head type of thing.
So at the end of the day, the majority of the council has the option to follow your recommendations or not, right?
Correct.
Okay.
As I'm saying, just my recommendation
Well,
for everybody concerned.
But I mean, ultimately, it's Mr. Garcia's decision, I guess. I don't know, Garcia, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I mean, it's we could either, yeah.
Just for the record, I'm not saying he can't vote. That's just my recommendation for him and for the city.
So if you've heard the recommendation, but ultimately, it's your decision. Like I've said in other situations, it's up to the individual person to make a determination if they want to participate or not.
And I will support Mr. Garcia's decision, either way.
So I have a question. What happens if the FPPC comes back and says that his vote doesn't count? Where are we at then?
The contract would be invalid, unenforceable, and they could take some other action. I don't want to.
On the city or on Mr. Pro Tem? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So Garcia, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote today, because like I said, on page I'm reading legal required participation, and it states in there when there's a conflict, when there's a tie, I'm legally required.
Okay, Monica.
So my vote is yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 3-2.
Congratulations.
Just that I believe this is regarding the rule of necessity, but that's what I need to make sure of.
So, at this time, we're going to go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 7:06. Oh, you had, you have other questions, Maria? Okay. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 7:16 p.m. I'm not running, I already told you.